Hey, Ronnie.
Ronald, how are you?
Doing all right. Welcome back, folks. This is season 2 of the Ron's World. We got some fun stuff for you this season.
You're probably wondering what all the stuff behind us is. And as we got setting up our set, we started to think about all the things that are unique to us and our Alaska upbringing and what really would help you understand why we've come together. And I think as you look at some of the things, you're probably thinking, why?
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. So if you see the Louisville Slugger up there, it reminds me of my good friend Ronald, who is a late bloomer, self-proclaimed.
Yes.
And,
I'm still blooming, actually.
So why is the Louisville Slugger here, Ronald? Tell me.
Okay, well, first off, we grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, and pretty quiet town when we were growing up there. But in high school, really big high school for 2,000 students, there were some places around town that were a little bit rougher, and so under advisement, folks recommended I carry a bat around. I was a smaller kid, so I had that Louisville Slugger actually under the back seat of my car just in case, in a place where I could grab it if I needed. Thankfully, never had to use it.
So we actually grew up on a little street called Tiffany Terrace, and you can see the sign up there. That literally is the street that we grew up on. And at the end of Tiffany Terrace was a cul-de-sac, and we were super into baseball. Not only baseball, but baseball cards, and that's a different story, but
yeah.
we created what we call CBL, which is the Cul-de-sac Baseball League. My house was home plate, Ron's house was first base, we used the neighbor's house as second base, and I don't know what kind of neighborhood you grew up in, but we owned the neighborhood.
That's right.
And we would literally play baseball as if there were no houses there. I mean, do you remember, like, you would,
yeah.
I mean, actually Ronald wouldn't have this issue, but some of us, that would hit the ball further, we would hit it off, roofs, windows. I mean, it was kind of crazy if I think back, because I don't know that I would let that happen in my neighborhood.
Well, there's a couple key parts about this. So we would use a tennis ball to ensure that we wouldn't break anything, but as you know, a tennis ball can break stuff. Fortunately, didn't break anything in the neighborhood. We had very gracious neighbors. I mean, and I think back then a lot of neighbors just didn't care if you were running around the yard. Actually, it was expected the kids were running from yard to yard to yard.
Ronald and I were super into skiing. Which is why we have our skis up here.
Ronnie was really good. I was not that good. I could get down, but typically you would have to wait for me.
There was this time where I was
Alyeska, south of Anchorage, 40 minutes.
I was super into ski racing back then, and I took my good friend Ronald up to ski one afternoon, and I was going down, and I was waiting for him because he's slower than me.
Yep.
And he was trying to do a really fancy stop and spray snow on me.
Yep.
Well, he didn't do that. He just took me out. Like, literally, I'm like, dude, you gotta stop. And all of a sudden, boom.
And he went flying into the woods. Fortunately, he didn't get really hurt. We had some fun, and every one of these pieces up here has a story behind it.
So we've got kids, and kids have homework, and homework, obviously, as a parent, and if you're a parent, you probably can understand, sometimes you're relearning stuff. And math is something that, for Ronald and I, we just get it. We're really good at math, and specifically...
Which is kind of amazing, because I don't think you ever got better than a C in math in school.
Well, you have to actually attend classes to get good grades, and I was always skiing or something else.
Yeah,
anyway, so we loved the game Yahtzee. Because there was so many dark hours in winter, Ronald always would be like, let's play Yahtzee.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. So Yahtzee was a game that we played. You had to know a little bit of math.
Do it
in your head.
You got 5 numbers you got to add up at any given time mentally.
Well, yeah, being good at math. That's Ronnie's benchmark with being good at math.
Like we were in second grade.
That's as far as you got in math. But that's okay. That's okay, Ronnie. I mean, we're friends. I'm not
second grade. 5 numbers mentally. That's a big accomplishment.
One of the games that I thought was super fun, which kind of ties back to the golf club, if you can see it back there, is that we created this clay maze where we would actually golf little clay balls around there. I mean, you're trying to figure out things to do when it's dark outside. You can't get your parents to drive you to go skiing or play hockey or whatever we were doing in the wintertime. You had to figure things out. So indoors, we figured out some games.
As Alaskans, people are always amazed at the animals you see. And we've got our good friend the moose up there with Moose Crossing. Yep. And I kid you not, how many times a week do you think we saw moose?
It was pretty much daily.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much daily a moose would come through. And the thing is moose are incredibly dangerous because they will stomp you. They'll get their hooves at you, and they'll try to mow you down. So, but as kids, we just really didn't think much of it. A moose would come by the neighborhood, and no one got out of the way. We've got the football up there. You know, neither one of us actually played football in any kind of league that I know of. I know I didn't. I don't remember you playing anything, but we did play in the snow. And if you're from a northern climate, I'm sure plenty of our audience are from northern climate, playing football in the snow is a ton of fun. And we had a tradition. We'd watch the Super Bowl together, and at halftime, called everybody up, got in the street, and played. It was fun.
And this isn't touch football in Alaska.
No.
We're
it's the
we're
snow, it's padding.
So it wasn't just, tackle football. You got to put them down under the snow. I mean, especially if it was a big snow day. I mean, you would tackle them and you try to get them head down under the snow. I mean, we had Ron and I were not the athletes of the neighborhood. We had another couple friends that were real athletes.
Yeah.
And the key was don't let them get the ball. But those guys, if they tackle you, you'd be sore for a couple days after. Another one that's up there that I think is really cool, that what do they call it, moon launch? I don't remember actually the name of it growing up.
Yeah, we called it kind of the ball with the rods game.
Yeah, and you got to get it to slide up. You kind of move your hands, which maybe that's why we have such good dexterity, is that we did so much moon launch game as a kid. As we get into season 2, we really hope that some of our stories of childhood, some of the things that we did as best friends growing up, that you can really embrace, because again, we've been friends 40 years.
We were fast friends. A lot of it has to do with proximity. You're little kids. You're like second grade, so you're close by. You're near each other. Every day walking to the bus stop together to go to school.
Yeah.
We had all the same interests. Everything revolved around our neighborhood and just having fun. And we're both chatty, as you can probably tell if you've watched the show a few times. And so I think that kind of drew us together, because not everybody at second, third graders is as talkative as we were. A lot of it's just having a good friend. Everybody needs a good friend, and we genuinely liked hanging out with each other. We could find a feed off each other. Like Ronnie would say something silly, and I would say something dumb, and then and then you make fun of each other.
And don't get me wrong, we're like any friends. Like we've had fights. I mean, I remember this one time. I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. I had a babysitter that came over, and for some unknown reason, the babysitter poured syrup in Ron's hair, and I thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Okay, the babysitter, it couldn't have been older than like 13 years old, comes around, pours the syrup on it, thinking it's funny. And in shock, and Ronnie's sitting right next to me, and
so
just bursts out laughing. And I didn't even think, I just went,
he punched
like
me right in the face. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't pour syrup in your hair. You had to have been there. It was just classic.
Ronnie has a tendency, if he's being a little, I would say maybe petulant, a little ill-tempered or whatever. We were on the bus, and Ronnie was like poking fun. He was just like going off on the bus, and something got directed to me. And I remember walking down the street and called him a really bad name. I won't say it on the show, and then stormed into my house. And you probably didn't even pay attention, but I was pissed. But then, a little while later, after getting a snack or whatever, I called him up to go play in the neighborhood. But I just remember being really pissed about that. If I get pissed about something, you get pissed about something, I'm sure your mind, like mine, goes to, well, that's like a moment in time.
Right.
And there's another like 39 years and 364 days that were like, that was a lot of fun. So you go back to all those fun things. And I think that's what you do with good friends, and and having each other's backs.
It's so funny when you think about Tiffany Terrace and the road we grew up on. It was standard road. You come down to the end of the road, a little cul-de-sac, and you turn right.
Dead end.
Yeah,
dead end road.
Well, that was what was interesting about it, is that the road didn't dead end. It just stopped. It was almost as if they stopped paving, and where the road ended, the forest began.
Yes, that's right. Right. And there's a little creek there with a little wood bridge that you cross over, someone made, and it's all rickety.
And if you remember, if you followed that creek and the bridge around, there was an old fort, probably built by some high school kids long before we moved to the neighborhood. And we'd always go up into that fort, and I don't know why, but we would always eat raw hot dogs and atomic fireballs.
Okay, well, I think there's two big questions about that. Number one, why were our parents letting us go up in some rickety treehouse built by some high school kids? That couldn't have been safe. And number two, why was your family always eating raw hot dogs? Every time I came to your house, it was raw hot dogs.
Now, first off, these two things go hand in hand. Different topic.
These are good. I think these are all great topics, but I think we need to talk about tree houses. There's some really good stories around tree houses and forts in the neighborhood.
Oh my God!
So check out that episode coming up. Tree houses, forts. You got to check it out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's leave them for now. We'll talk about tree houses later. See you guys.
See you later. See you later, Ronnie.
See you, Ronald.